Mala Sudam Kumbha Vibodha Mudra Vidyavirajata Karavari Jatam Apara Karunya Sudamburashim Sri Sharadamba Pranatosmi Nityam. Seeking the benediction of Jagannatha Sharada Parameshwari, Ma Saraswati, Vagdevi Saraswati, that repository of all that is culture, knowledge, tradition, wisdom, art, learning and fine art, I bow to her as I commence my address today. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this annual meet of the stakeholders of our society, the SIES annual meet, which for the first time has moved out to the campus of the society at Nerul to address the convenience of most of the participating members of this annual meet. And again, for the first time, has broken away from tradition, moving from an evening session to a morning session, again to take care of the traffic blues on the streets of Mumbai in the late hours, and the concern and the anxiety of several of the participants living in far-off places to reach homes before the family goes to sleep for the night. Over the years, this annual meet has become a definitive part of the calendar of events of the society. It's more than a meet, it's a meeting of minds, an exchange of thoughts, an opportunity to go into the events that have gone by the year, which is about to come to an end. It's an occasion also to reflect on the highs and lows of the achievements and the failures, and more importantly, the laggards, the limitations that have momentarily impeded the progress of the society during the year, and of all other factors which will soon demise into the archives of this society. It's an occasion where more than camaraderie and fellowship, it's more than a meet to greet, to feed and to eat. It is far more than that. Over the years, it has moved away from a dialogue to a monologue of only the society highlighting the achievements of the year. But nonetheless, the fact remains that it's an appraisal of the events which takes into account all your views as we gathered them over the years. It has always been the desire of the society to have more frequent meets with all the stakeholders. But then the pangs of a growing society, the pangs of growth itself, the limitations of every day unfolding itself with new priorities, shifting from the ones that we would have decided for the next morning, dissuades us from the luxury of having such frequent meetings. And ultimately, the annual meet has become singularly the one-shot, one-day event where we have the company of all the stakeholders of the society to a large extent and a few of the students for whom this society exists. On an occasion like this, it's time to reflect, remember, and pay our reverential tributes to all those members of the SIES family who have served this institution for very long periods, and then perforce had to terminate their life journey during the year that has gone by and reach the abode of their master. We bow our heads in respect and reverence to all of them and pray of them to shed their grace and blessings wherever they are ensconced onto this society and all those who form part of this society. To those of those teaching and the non-teaching staff who have served the institution with distinction and devotion, and there comes a time by the perforce action of law that they had to separate themselves from day-to-day functioning of the society due to the process of superannuation, and who have retired during the year after such a glorious innings. It's time to thank them for all that they have done to this institution during that active period of their association with the society. Fortunate as we are to those of them who have served this society for 25 long years, those silver years, and are still continuing with us for a longer journey ahead, it's time to thank them as well. To those of those new recruits into the SIES family who have started experiencing the flavor and the essence of what SIES means, it's time to welcome them and get them introduced to the larger family of SIES than the ones to which they have been connected. and to the former principals and the vice principals of our institution who have responded to our invitation to be present this morning to join us in the joy of these celebrations. We sincerely thank them for their presence. Geriatry might have overtaken them, but then the energy that they get to get back to their own people is something to be believed. And on this side, when I see most of them smiling and shining, I think it has been a purpose well served to invite them for this meeting. To those of those teaching staff who have augmented the arsenals in their armory by PhD qualifications and other superior qualifications, as would enable them to serve the student community better, it's time to acknowledge their achievement. Equally so is that of the non-teaching staff of the society and its institutions who have acquired superior qualifications so as to enable them to provide the non-academic services better to the teachers and the student community. We pray that many of them join the tribe of sustaining excellence in whatever field that they are engaged in. To the teaching and the non-teaching staff and the students of this institution who had extraordinary achievements in curricular, co-curricular and extracurricular activities, keeping the SIES flag flying high, doing proud not only to themselves, to their families, to their alma mater, but in a larger sense to the nation themselves, it's time to greet and felicitate them. In this long list of people, we also have people who have died in harness. Spare a thought for the families which have been bereft of the company of the lone breadwinner or one of the breadwinners of that family. It's time to reflect on them as well. In the array of awards, recognitions, and remembrance that will unfold itself on the stage, the flow of events of this morning will be guided. Before I address on the highlights of the year that has gone by, one of the singular achievements of the society during the year that is about to eclipse into the archives of history is one of the long-felt intent and need of the society to professionalize the management across all verticals. It was more of an intent and a desire than actualization that seems to have gained steam and today has seen the light of the day. It all started a year before when we first appointed a director for human resources and director for academics. And during the year, we have great pleasure in welcoming Major General Bikramdeep Singh, SMAVSM, as Director Materials and Services, Jaideep Daga, Chief Technology Officer, Director Technology, and Anand Krishnamurthy, Director Audit, with the functional responsibility of overseeing the systems and procedures to instill checks and balances in the overall system and to ensure prevention of leaks with a view to avoid both leakages of time and revenue in the overall system. Before the end of the coming year, it shall be our effort to appoint a director for public relations, institutional communication, and media connect. And as we travel along, it shall be the sincere effort of the management to scout round the talent that is available to our eyes and that we hear from others to get a chief executive officer and honorary secretary of the society who shall preside over the functioning of the council of directors and shall be singularly be responsible to the management of the society for the day-to-day functioning of the society. With the appointment of the CEO, both the positions of the working president and that of the honorary secretary in the managing council of the society shall demise. I am more than confident that the new organization that is slowly evolving and is getting into place will be able to rise to the task of meeting the challenges in the years ahead, and more importantly, the vast changes that are taking place in the landscape of education in the country, never before seen in the history of this country, either before independence or after independence. We are about to enter into the 95th year of this glorious journey of this institution in the cause of education. On the 27th of December 1931, a few of the migrant South Indians into the city of Bombay then had assembled in the Indian Gymkhana grounds to address a singular concern of theirs to provide education to the children of these migrant families. And then they gave birth to an institution by name, the South Indian Education Society. On the 21st of April 1932, a legal clothing was provided to this association, and SIES was registered under the Societies Registration Act of 1860. On the 6th of June 1932, the academic journey, the mission of the society began in a very small garage, the Shanghani Garage in King Circle in Matunga, with 6 curious kids entrusted by their parents to the society for the purpose of empowering them and enlightening them through the process of education. In 5 years from now, we shall be unfolding all these foundational events of the 31s and the 32s and recreate them as part of the process of reminiscence of the events that had gone by that had given shape to this institution. Little would the founding fathers of the institution would have believed and dreamt when the first saplings were sowed by them with 6 curious students, that it shall grow like the proverbial banyan tree, bringing with its influence people of diverse shades, hues and colors, all connected together by a common cord called as education. It's a tribute to their vision, to their vivacity, to their cosmopolitan and Catholicity that an institution of the like of SIES has been born. What is there in a century? In 5 years down the line, when we recreate all these foundational events, we shall be celebrating the centenary of SIES. What is there in a century? Any milestone like this is an efflux of time. It's a time chronicle which every being, human or otherwise, including animals and institutions, shall go through, because that is a certainty of time. Passage of time is a life certainty. It is not just the number of years, it's how well we live. We live in deeds and not in years. One crowded hour of glory is far more worth than a listless century without mention. If we have to graduate this centenary of ours, 100 years in arithmetic terms, into a century of academic bliss, then we have to redouble our efforts more than that in the coming 5 years and achieve far more than what we have achieved in the 95 years journey of this institution, more particularly the challenging times in the landscape of changes that we are seeing in higher education in this country. Coming to the operational highlights of the year under review, the growth and development of our society in recent times, in the last decade, have all been conditioned and regulated by mission plans. These are term plans with both short-term, near-term and long-term goals being set over a definitive period of 7 to 8 years. The last mission plan was Vision 2025 for the period 2018 to 2025. Singularly, Mission 2025 was the turnaround, the breakout event of the growth of the institutions of SIES. At the last annual meet, I had in fact addressed at length on the achievements of Mission 2025. Suffice if I were to say that the academic infrastructure expansion, the institution of new courses and new institutions reached their crescendo during the period of 2018 to 2025. Despite the fact that 2 of these 7 years were lost to human activities due to the health crisis of corona pandemic, which had derailed every human activity, and education was no exception, we could gather steam in the next 5 years and achieve all that was possible during that mission plan that we had set for ourselves. It is not gainsay for me to say that we have achieved all that we had set for ourselves. There were several important milestones that we had set during Mission 2025, which did not see the light of the day. Not because of the fault of the society, or it was far beyond our controls. We wanted to clothe all our institutions of higher learning under the SIES University, the deemed to be university, under Section 3(1) of the UGC Act 1956, and the regulations for deemed universities under the 2023 regulations. It was bureaucratic hurdles and legal bottlenecks that defied seeing the morning of an SIES university. Despite our best efforts of follow-up with both the Union Government and the University Grants Commission, the custodian of higher education in this country, we were left with no adequate response. With great reluctance, we were constrained to move the High Court of Bombay against the Union Ministry of Education and the University Grants Commission for a writ of certiorari to direct them to constitute an expert committee and set the ball in process to validate our application. As early as 9th of October 2023, we filed our application, and our application was found eligible for a deemed to be university, and we were directed to pay 20 lakhs as application fees for the deemed to be university status. And over the last 2.5 years, except that it had gathered dust, it gathered no other action. I'm extremely delighted to tell you that 2 days before, when the matter came up before the High Court, both the Government of India and the University Grants Commission were shred to pieces by the two judges. And they directed that within a period of 4 weeks maximum, because the Parliament is in session, they gave the allowance of 4 weeks, otherwise they would have given only 2 weeks, to constitute the expert panel to do virtual or physical inspection of the infrastructure of the institution for deemed to be university, and another 2 more weeks maximum for them to submit their report and recommendations for final consideration by the Government of India on merits. At long last, the dream of an university that we have been looking at, I think there is some light at the end of the tunnel, and it could see the light of the day. During the year that has gone by, we took substantial lead as far as creating the infrastructure for the SIES School of Physiotherapy College of Physiotherapy was concerned. All that infrastructure is in place for the commencement of the College of Physiotherapy. In fact, we have gone ahead to expand the infrastructure so that all that is required for the full 4 years will be available on day one. Subject to approval, which is very much on the cards, we would start the School of Physiotherapy from the coming academic year, the fall of 2026-27. So much has gone by during this period of Mission 2025, and thereafter to Mission 2022, the elements of which shall be approved and adopted during the course of the year. The singular theme that SIES shall emerge shall always be one of the most admired academic institutions in the country, which was the ethos, the mission plan of 2025, will continue till we celebrate our centenary. We are only into the core business of educating the masses of this country. We don't want to be very big, but we want to be amongst the best, and we want to be admired for both the quality and the quantity of the services that we rendered in this field of very high endeavor. During the year that has gone by, all other institutions have shown the conventional excellence in academics, and the results that have been generated both in the competitive examinations and internal examinations speak volumes when most of them come to the platform here to receive the recognitions for merit ranks at the various examinations. Quality has been sustained by the institution over the years. There have been vast changes in the landscape of education that has been taking place in the country. One of the key elements to the success of new educational plan is to revive the glory of universities of yesteryears like Nalanda, Pataliputra, Takshashila, the like of them which survived several centuries before, to recreate them across the landscape of higher educations of learning in the country. Now that the SIES University is on the cards, it's time for us to lay the foundation for this university, no less stronger than the foundation that the founding fathers of this institution had laid 95 years ago. such durability of foundation on which several verticals were erected over these 9.5 decades, which have stood the onslaught of fury of both nature and the changes that have taken place in human living in this part of the planet over these 95 years. They have stood tall and proud with the achievements that they have made in the singular mission of education that the founding fathers of this institution had given unto this society and to all people who are part of this institution. The recent events, the viral robo-dog that came to limelight in the digital media at the AI summit at New Delhi, when the Delhi Declaration was adopted on the sovereignty, independence, and universality of AI with signature by 74 member nations to that independence of AI, also saw a strong message that our universities should have more of substance and less of spin. Every institution, be it a higher institution of learning or an university, has outstanding, brilliant students amongst the population of students that it has got. It has young teachers who commit themselves to the profession and come over for a career in education or research. Whenever an adverse remark or titles like this hit the digital media, it is not only the managements who come under the heat. The poor students who are in the final year, who are sitting for their placements, will soon see the vanishing tribe of corporates who come for campus placements. And to those young researchers who want to make a career in teaching and research, who come as assistant professors, soon find not one microscope, several microscopes being put across their research efforts, elongating painfully the process of completing that research itself because of the lack of credibility that the institution itself has got, affecting these stakeholders indirectly and directly as well. Academic institutions are not branding commodities. Digital media can be deadly. What will start off as a discussion will soon graduate into a discourse on national prestige. Institutions are created by sweat, by labor, by hard efforts of several people at several points of time in history. One act of indiscretion cannot bring down the pyramid, affecting all the stakeholders, both past and the present. At a time when the so-called fake news or real-time checks are available, which has become a reality, a curated marketive narrative can never substitute technical depth. If optics were to bury the substance, then the institution will not take off from the ground. It will remain at the foundational stage itself. We need to rediscover the inherent strength of academic institutions rather than to indulge in those cosmetics that may momentarily elevate the perception, but in the long run will affect all stakeholders. As we build the foundation of the SIES University, this message that we shall have more of substance and none of spin if we can will make the core elements of integrity, ethics, reliability as the core foundational elements of the SIES University. Simultaneous with this viral robo-dog, I don't know how many would have seen in the digital media, there was one more news which came, and I think which was more sharper and more to be looked at than even this momentary act of indiscretion of the viral dog. We fling patent applications as if like they are tons of papers onto the Office of the Controller of Patents. We take sadistic pleasure in saying that we have filed so many patents during the year, patent applications during the year. For the year ended 2022-23, in fact, under the patent laws, you get an expedited route for approval of patents within 2 years. So most of the filings up to 2023 would have been approved by 31st of March 2025. The IITs of India had filed 3,115 patent applications. 64% of them were converted into grant of patents. The institutes of science across the landscape of the country filed 379 technology patents with a success rate of 68%. All the private and the autonomous universities of this country and institutes of higher learning filed more than 10 times the number of patent applications with the Office of the Controller of Patents. And the success rate of all these universities together was 1%. 1 to 2% maximum, 1%. These are not my statements, these are Government of India statements coming from the Office of the Patents Controller. Research is a serious business. Patents are not sheaf of paper which are based on cut and paste of some other researcher's effort. It has to be backed up by funding. It has to be backed up by years of labor of both the researcher and the accompanying persons who support the research program. Patents, when they become granted as patents, there the end doesn't come. You need laboratories. You need support technologies. You need sustained funding. You need legal support before it can be transferred into a licensed technology, which can be then scaled up either for commercial benefit or for the good of humanity. If such efforts on research are not matched by these elements of support like funding and people, they will be sooner or later, like the robo-dog, reflect the true glory and the nature of the institution itself. There is need to learn from this, because a few scores in NAC, NBA or NIRF by the number of the filings that get into the patent office is no indicator for the depth of an institution. Actually, it's time that we scrap all the 3 accreditations that we have. These symbols of accreditation are of no use to the student community because the parameters under which these are being done do not give any gain to the students. A plus institutions, when you come in, they shall be D minus based on the experience of the students. So worldwide, even though these are good symbols for decision making for the parents and the students, sadly in India, I think we need to overhaul the ranking system. The moment you start running after ranks, it is like mirages in the sand dunes of time. Illusory as they are, nothing will come out of them. And when quantitative terms dictate the academic performances, all that you will end up with quantity and no quality. Institutions are built not on size. Institutions are built on the depth of the work that they take up. Size is only incidental if the foundation has been very strong. It is all these factors that shall weigh in all of us as stakeholders when we lay the foundation for the SIES university. We don't want it to be a Me Too university, an also-ran university, a university which shall be an extension of the work of 94 years that we have done in the field of education. And all those principles of equity, reliability, credibility, affordability, sincerity shall be the compass under which the SIES university shall be built. At a time when the entire generation of today is swept by the overriding influence of technology, there is a lurking fear that technology shall become the end and not the means to the end. Technology is being equated to a goal today. If that were to be a reality as we further go down these years, all the human values that we have accumulated over centuries of existence in this planet Earth, right from Adam and Eve to the people of today, will be lost at the altar of technology, and then the world will be inhabited by two types of beings. One, the four-legged animals, and the two-legged human beings who are robots, who also are animals. So in the use of technology, institutions shall have the fine blend of the human talent that we possess inherently and harness the technology for further harnessing the human potential that we have and not the other way around. If only you are living under a rock, you will not know what artificial intelligence is all about. It is all pervading. It is omnipresent. It is sweeping across the 7 continents like an avalanche. At every era in human history, we had technologies which had rearranged the affairs of human beings at that point of time when those technologies were created. Be it the wheel, or the generation of electricity, or computers of recent years, or internet which followed as a logical outcome of computers. Everything only aided and expanded human capacity. But today you have got an innovation, a technology, which seems to substitute mankind. It seems to alter what we are doing or what we can do. There is a legitimate fear that artificial intelligence will displace human capacity. But as long as we are conscious of the fact that it is human intelligence which has created artificial intelligence, and this intelligence can create many more intelligence far better than this AI, then we will know to embrace artificial intelligence as part of the rudimentary tools that are available to mankind to empower themselves to achieve the goals of life more effectively. And this is the guiding principle of AI. And today, AI has gone beyond what it was seen of 2 years before. I think 2.5 years before, not much of AI was known. The breakout of ChatGPT last 1.5 years before was the first turning point that we had. Otherwise, large language models were the only one that ruled the roost. But today, AI is setting our agenda, setting the work schedules for us, optimizing both the resources and manpower in factories, guiding production schedules. It is deciding the diagnosis of ailments that can visit you in the years ahead, more ahead of time, based on genetics and not of cloning. The predictive medicines that AI gives in healthcare will decide what type of medicines at what point of time can cure that ailment that comes to you. It personates you, gives you a larger than life perception, and sadly, it impersonates you. The deepfake technologies that are an outcome of such AI in this nascent stage itself say that there are things to be guarded in the use of any technology, and more so AI. I said so much about AI only because in the coming years, you cannot escape AI. So, the identity, the mascot that will carry SIES forward in the coming 5 years is artificial intelligence. The SIES Center for Excellence in Artificial Intelligence shall become the visible face of all the educational endeavors of SIES in the coming years. A state-of-art Center of Excellence is being created, and I have great pleasure in telling you, I had addressed it last year, that we have concluded the agreement for sale for a plot of land with a 5-storied structure, a new building, complete in all respects, being made available to us. And in just about a month or two, we shall start the work of internalizing the proposal for AI. We've already released the vision document on AI as far as the SIES is concerned, and that shall guide the way forward as far as AI is concerned. It shall be our effort to provide 4 verticals to begin with: AI in healthcare, dominantly into pharmaceuticals; AI into media; AI into education; AI in governance; and ethics. As we flower these verticals along, we shall expand the sweep and the reach of AI to every aspect of human activity, not just confining to creation of applications which provide ease for living. Over the last few months, I have never completed my address without speaking about my country. And even though it has been repeated by me in several forums, I have different audiences at different points of time. I feel like getting back to the mold of speaking about my country, because we are not diverse from our country. SIES, you and me are all part of this nation, and therefore I come to what my country is. There comes a time in the history of the world that the voice of a nation, stifled, silenced, and submerged over several millennia, breaks out and then is heard loud and clear in the corridors of powers of the most important institutions of the world. That voice is that of India. Nations of the world across the 7 continents have stood up and taken notice of the winds of change, those optimism that is blowing across from this peninsular region of the Southeast Asian nation. Equally so, it has spread panic in the minds of a few developed nations of the West. Why is it that a growth of a nation should bring shudders down the spine of the most developed nations of the world? It is basically because it is not just of a nation which is reviving itself in economic terms. It's a civilization which is gaining resurgence and getting back to the world map. Whenever you were to look at India from the prism of the Western world, it has always been understatement. To the Westerners, India has always been a nation of snake charmers, poverty, and chaos. They have long believed that it is they who have saved this nation and its civilization. But below this stereotype, they fail to recognize that a nation which was in deep slumbers for long has already woken up. And a civilization that had given unto the world the concept of zero, surgery, philosophy, yoga, when the world did not even know what a book is or an hospital can be, that civilization is regaining its strength and vitality. And when such an ancient mind were to fuse with technology and embrace modern thoughts, that fusion is deadly. It is unstoppable. It can never be altered by anyone on the earth. It is this societal energy, that fusion energy that is being released by the cocktail of technology and tradition of this land of ours, that has upset the equilibrium of most of the nations of the world. Today she is no longer demanding a place for herself amongst the League of Developed Nations. She does not align her policies with that of the more powerful masters on the complex geopolitical equations. We have long forgotten PL 480. We are no longer a nation of poverty. Today she is fabricating her own table. She is deciding her own path, the rules of engagement, the vision for this nation, and which of those nations which can join her for a discourse in that table that she is creating, rather than the tables that the world had created in the past, and then decide what is good for the universe, good for common good for the people of this planet, of which these nations and India will partner together to reach those goals. Today she is no longer satisfied with being called a developing nation, because she is developing her own identity, her own perspective and personality. What is uniquely called as Bharatiya or Indianness is what today is the hallmark of her growth and development. She has not developed just in terms of economic parameters. She could be the largest growing macroeconomy in the world. The last quarter, which results were out yesterday, 7.8%, signals that she has sustained this growth over the years. In just about 2 years from now, the position of fifth that she shall become the third largest macroeconomy in the world, next only to USA and China. But it is not this growth that she is content with. The government of the day had unfolded Viksit Bharat, the mission, the dream of this country, that it has to achieve for its people by 2047, when India would celebrate the centenary of its independence. And the government had rightly harnessed the potentials of the Indians for a dream by which India will not only emerge as the most dominant economic powerhouse of the world, but she shall also regain that exalted, elevated status of a Vishwaguru, a teacher of the world, which position she had enjoyed without any challenge, all by herself till the 18th century. So this is the vision that the government of India had set for its people. But if wishes were horses, beggars will ride. It is incumbent on the people of the land to translate the vision of the government, that grandiose vision, into a reality. And if singularly that vision has to become a reality, it is the empowerment of the masses through the process of education. A singular link which can transform India is education, and education alone. More than 4,000 years ago, when the first alphabets were etched in tablets of clay in the Indus Valley civilization, even today we have several Indians who cannot read and write. In far-flung areas of the country, cut away from the mainstream development, people cannot read and write. So if at all we need architects for the vision of modern India, of Viksit Bharat, it is the teachers and the teachers alone. We have to gird up our loins, shirk the inertia that momentarily envelops us, and go forward with determination and confidence in the path of the nation leading to the realization of Viksit Bharat. Then, as David Henry Thoreau, that famous American philosopher, said, you will get unexpected success at unearthly hour. May we all be blessed to be partners in progress in the India of our dreams. For long we have never realized the dominant role of our alumni in the growth and development of our institutions. Occasionally, when you see newspapers and digital media saying several hundred crores being given to IITs and IIMs by Indians who have relocated to Europe or USA, or even powerful Indians over here, that time we think in terms of only money alone from the alumni. There is much, much more that this stakeholder can give to an institution than merely unfolding his purse. The expertise that they would have gathered over years of professional work post leaving the institution has never been harnessed by us. The connect that we fail to establish is one singular reason why we have not grown more than what we have grown today. Our academic institutions have had alumni reunions, but not by the institution. It is those students who are coming back to celebrate 25 years, 40 years, 50 years of the passing out batch of that period. Last year in the SIES High School, I had a 65-year-old years after passing out SSC. They themselves were all above 78 who had met. But that's more by them. So it was for fellowship and camaraderie. For the first time ever, the society has decided to have an alumni reunion called the SIES Alumni 2000 to begin with 2026, which shall be conducted on the 21st of March 2026 at the Nerul campus of the society. We begin a new academic journey from that day of involving a dormant stakeholder into mainstream functioning of the society. We celebrate excellence amongst our alumni for the first time by instituting the Distinguished Alumnus Award. Navaratnas, 9 of the best, will be conferred the award on that day. That's only the beginning of the journey. There are countless number of SIES whose performance would have merited all awards on the earth. So each year, as we start this journey, in the month of March, we shall have the reunion, the reconnect with the alumni, and explore the possibilities of growing together to realize the India of our dreams. The tag of nobility that has been attached to the teaching profession has long been lost. Teaching is yet another profession where a teacher is paid for rendering a service. But as I told you, if ever this country has to realize its dream, the principal stakeholder are the teachers. And you have to retrieve the nobility tag that is attached to this profession. Teachers are all like books. Several of us, most people, read the cover page and opinionate on the book. There are very few who travel to the next page, which is the index page or the contents page. And then they can speak volumes about what the book is. Most majority go by the voice of the critics, who would have neither seen the book, leave alone the cover or the contents. And then philosophies flow out as if that's what they have brought to the book. There are very few who travel beyond this index and cover page, go through the contents of the book, realize the import, the significance that the author is giving to the subject that he is addressing. Teachers are exactly like this. If we have to change the perception of the society, we have to make them realize the work that we are doing. In the classroom, off the classroom, into the personal life of the students, into the educational life of the students. And that will require you to make this society go through the full book of what you are. And then teachers can regain their position so that the country can regain the position of Vishwaguru that we are talking about. Our compass is good for a long haul, good for all ages, good for all seasons, good for all those who want to contribute to the goodness of humanity through the process of empowerment, enlightenment, and enrichment, which singularly only education and education alone can give. As long as we do not lose sight of these principles, which are the soul of our society, then we can lay claim to a future as exciting and brilliant as our past. We invite all of you to join us in the journey called education and realize the India of our dreams. Thank you and God bless.